We're live. All right. Hello, everyone. Kick us off, Dave.
Welcome to the Tooele Happy Hour podcast. If head trauma had a podcast, it might sound like this.
Might.
Most definitely. I'm your host, David Weiss, and this is Jared Anderson. Today's guest, Jen, will you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Jennifer Dredge from Utah Freedom Coalition.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about the Utah Freedom Coalition.
Sure. It's a group of people. We all work together on various projects, started with elections, really, and then branched out into several other areas. The digital ID would be the other one. So we were the main group behind kind of exposing the digital driver's license bill, SB 88, during this session and helping to get that stopped from going statewide. The pilot's still active, but that didn't go through statewide.
Okay. So, All right. So you're a group of
just the Misfits toys, you know, a bunch of patriots all working together. You'll see if you go to our blog, we've got different authors that write, you know, different information. And then a lot of people know Salty's voice from our videos. She does a lot of our videos, but we have others who do video as well. So it just kind of whoever, you know, wants to help and volunteer and kind of do research and dig into some topics and then put them together to share them with the public. That's really the biggest thing that we do, because there's a lot going on in Utah, unfortunately.
Yes, there is. And if someone wants to go look at your stuff, they're going to go to the UtahFreedomCoalition.org.
Yes.
And that'll be in the show notes for anyone that's interested in looking that up. We'll put the link to that in there. And if they want to join up with you guys and such things, then probably go through there would be the best way, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Just email us. We're always looking for help and volunteers. So always good.
It's a very serious group. So if you have some skills to contribute towards the freedom fight, if you're willing to do research, if you're willing to actually look up facts, and if you can put together a fantastic argument orally or written, this is one of those groups I would totally recommend to people who want to get involved with spreading the gospel of freedom.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you. Yes.
No, thank you. Thank you for your work. So let's dive right into it. Before we go on, let me announce that me and Dave tonight are drinking screwdrivers because Elon Musk bought Twitter, and there has been much chatter about Donald Trump being put back on Twitter. Now we know Donald Trump has said he's not going back on Twitter, but if he plans on running in 2024, he must. I think you have to be active on Twitter to win, unless in the next 2 years Twitter gets usurped by something, and it doesn't look like anything is on the horizon to usurp it. So we're drinking screwdrivers in celebration of the Orange Man. So,
well, not just the Orange Man, but freedom itself. As it goes, Twitter is a mainstream platform, and you know it's very well put together. It flows well. It's very popular, and now we have a foothold somewhere where we can actually talk about vaccines and other topics that might otherwise get us kicked off of YouTube.
They may not go that far just yet, but we'll see. We'll have to see what happens with Twitter, how it goes. But I know that there has been much chatter about it. All of their, all the command presence on Twitter has been fired. And wouldn't it have been cool if Elon would have brought Trump down to tell him they're fired? Just throwing it out there. Just for a second. I'm not the biggest fan of Trump, but I am a bigger not fan of the way that they have handled censorship. But Anyway.
Yeah.
So,
free speech, please.
Yeah. As long as you're not inciting violence or
right,
other things like that, I think we need to just let free speech go.
Yep.
So, we'll go on. We'll just have Jen go on and kind of announce, what got her looking into the inland port and what she's found.
Sure. So the way the inland port came up for me was we, as I said, there's a group of researchers, right? A bunch of us look at various different bills and things. And the port kind of popped up in several documents, and it started to, unfortunately, form a pretty concerning picture. The port itself is almost, I won't go as far as to say sovereign quite yet, but it's looking like it's going to be a sovereign entity if it's not there already.
What do you mean by sovereign?
They're kind of like DC, so they're their own little entity. And the state doesn't really have a lot of, like, the way they word it is that the state has a lot of say, but it doesn't. And I would, have you look at the court case that Salt Lake City, who's being swallowed by this thing, lost. They lost to the, Utah Supreme Court, or in the Utah Supreme Court, to the Utah Inland Port Authority. And that's kind of a crazy, when you think about it, situation. The city is concerned for its environmental purposes because it's Salt Lake. So, and I'm not saying there aren't environmental issues, but you can imagine the left is very upset with the port for environmental reasons. The Utah Freedom Coalition is upset for the government overreach. Like, the port will now be monitoring your stormwater usage.
Yeah,
why is the port monitoring stormwater usage?
How does that work?
Utah has already been crazy about this, by the way. They've got several bills telling us what we can and cannot do with our rainwater storage, etc. But to have the port step in and start monitoring it is a little weird to me. A little concerning.
So let me just get something straight. For this rainwater storage law, does that actually get enforced? Has it ever been enforced?
These are all past laws. Yes. You cannot collect a certain amount of rainwater without registering it with the state. They have to know what you're collecting. You're not allowed to collect over a certain amount. They can come on your property and check it at any time. Like, there's crazy stuff. Crazy stuff.
Isn't it like 100 gallons above ground and something like
it's in barrels that they provide to you, etc.
below or something like that?
Yeah.
Could you imagine
kind of a nut?
Could you imagine being the cop that has to knock on the door, and God forbid something happened to you, like it was one of those guys that just gets really, really personal about his freedom rights and stuff like that, and you end up in an altercation and shots are exchanged, and there's an actual worldwide type bullet exchanging incident over something like that law. I mean, I think we got to be careful with what we put out there for laws, because people die when you make laws, and I could just see the headlines now, like 10 officers and one dude gets
they would not tell you
into a
what the
gunfight
headline
over.
was. They wouldn't tell you. They would make some other crap up,
because you're actually influencing the survivalist culture with that kind of a law, and they're very protective about their freedom rights. I mean, I understand that you got to stomp people down once in a while, but those are a hard crew to stomp down.
Once in a while, you gotta do it. You gotta keep them down.
But anyway, the port is just, if you guys look at the port overall and you start to analyze what's happened, it's like an octopus, and its tentacles are in everything. And it's growing and growing and growing. I mean, when it got authorized, $75 million, I believe. It's a $75 million kind of bank that they have access to. The World Trade Center Utah is extremely involved with them. Which, if you guys don't know what the World Trade Center is, I mean, that's a whole nother thing. It's a scary situation. But they're very, very involved.
I didn't know we had a World Trade
Yeah, you're
Center.
just gonna have to assume that we
got
don't.
brought here in 2013 by Huntsman. Thank you. And then the United Nations rolled in. I mean, they were already in Utah, but the United Nations is like all the way in. So it's not shocking that Utah is the only other state in the U.S. besides New York to host the United Nations Civil Society Conference thing.
So let me ask you this, Jen. Where can people go to research all these different tentacles that this inland port has over our governance?
So Utah Freedom Coalition has 2 blogs right now on the port. We will have a video coming. And they link out. But I would say the biggest things that people can do is read the bills themselves. And they are in those blogs. But there's, if my memory serves me correctly, about 4 bills that are the biggest or the most encroaching. And that's, again, authorizing these funding. They actually can tax. They have taxing authority. There's a lot of stuff going on there. That I think if Utahns were even aware, I don't think it ever would have gotten approved. Which actually brings me to my other, statement here is I cannot tell you how many people I run into that have never heard of the port. They didn't know we had one. They were like, wait, Utah and the port? I thought we squashed that back in the 80s or the 90s because they kept bringing it up. Well, they've been trying to get this port installed since at least 74, probably earlier.
Who's they?
Yeah, who is they? That's a good question.
Don't you
different
always
groups,
say
different
lizard people? Is that?
I know. I'm just waiting for the right moment. That's all.
One day they'll blink side. No, it's the. Well, here's the thing. You just said they have the right to tax.
Yes.
Now, how does that work out? I thought we had this whole deal with the government. Taxation without representation, and
right. You thought we had that. Let me pull that that exact, and I'll get you the exact. So the UPI has granted itself taxing authority through a public infrastructure district. So a PID. That's what they've done to allow themselves that loophole. And a PID is a local district. So remember what DC is, right? A PID is a local district with taxing authority and the power of what? Eminent domain, guys.
So they can come in, nab your property, tax you for it, tax your neighbors for, the upgrades they're going to put to your property they just stole.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, so to become a PID, you basically just have to get all those idiots in the state government to vote on it?
Well, I mean, there's more to it than that. But yeah, it was an involved process, although it got sped up quite a bit. For the Port Authority. The Port Authority, and I want to preface this really quick. I do believe some of the people involved, not everybody, at the beginning thought they were doing the right thing. And the reason I want to say that is the way it was presented to some people, including some of our legislatures, not all of them, is that it was to help rule Utah, right? Like have Utah be able to sustain itself. We've got, I don't know if you guys are aware, we have some of the cleanest oil in the entire country. It just has to be kept hotter. It gets too waxy. So if we were to transfer that, right, within statewide, I mean, you kind of need a port system set up, those kinds of things. So a statewide port might make sense, right, where we had control over it. You know what I mean? That might make sense. However, all of that they were told is not what's coming through. So that makes sense. They were kind of bait and switch.
So it was supposed to help out. It was supposed to help rural Utah. But instead,
rural Utah, and of course, jobs. Give us a bunch of jobs and all this stuff.
It turned into a program to rule Utah.
Yes, rule Utah. That's exactly. And they signed away our coastal port of entry. They signed that away. All right, so anything can come into Utah from Long Beach. That's who we signed the contract with, Long Beach, California. And they literally, whatever can come into Utah. I mean, it's kind of an unchecked process, just roll it right in. And so, Utah's in a very, I'd say, precarious situation if this thing goes all the way through. We're gonna look like California, only worse. in 5 years.
So the Utah Freedom Coalition is actually reading through these bills, trying to digest the material. How are you going to present it to the public? Are you just going to put more text on a blog, or are you going to make a video?
No, we got a video coming.
Okay.
There's a video coming. That's, we definitely try to get the information out. Obviously, the more people share it, right, the better that is. And as you guys said earlier with Twitter, we have a Twitter account that we don't post on because we have been waiting to see what happened with this. We've posted a couple things, but nothing too that would get us struck down, if you know what I'm saying yet. And so we've been waiting. So we're excited. If he's all about free speech like he says he is, then you'll be seeing a lot of stuff going up on Twitter coming soon.
How will it be? I mean, just to sidestep, how will it be to have that? You know what? I don't want anyone to go on Twitter and threaten people or even dox people. But how would it be to have Twitter be a open voice of knowledge again? Where it's I mean, if you were say a part of Hamas over the last 4 years and you wanted to call death to the infidel, I mean, it's a pretty good place to do it. But if you wanted to say, hey, there's some corruption in my government and I feel like something's wrong, or, the president's son may have used a number 2 pencil when he filled out the form to buy the illegal gun from the crack dealing prostitute he ordered. You weren't allowed to do it. And it's going to be interesting to see that if it comes back to being a platform where knowledge can be spread wholesale or information.
Yeah, I'm certainly hoping that it goes that way. So it'll be really interesting to see. What I've seen so far as who he's let go and stuff is promising. There are a lot of the people who've been squashing free speech. So that's, good to see. So we'll see what happens. But we've got our Twitter ready to go as soon as we can kind of see if that's the direction it's going. Because one thing you'll see with Utah Freedom Coalition, we are not on mainstream intentionally. So just because we've chosen not to participate in that. So we've been on Truth Social, Getter, Gab, Rumble. Mm-hmm. That's where we're at. But if they go back to free speech, then we'll start tweeting up a storm.
And keep in mind, though, don't get too excited, because there was another platform called Parler that didn't have their own servers. And I don't know if Twitter has their own servers or not. So they can be shut down through that direction.
Fingers crossed that they, after watching what happened with Parler, you would hope that a bunch of those peeps got their own servers. But you never know. You never know. So, we can hope, right?
It's all up in the air.
So the title of the show is 7 Red Flags. Yeah. Or was it 6?
7.
7 red flags, and we've covered a few of them, maybe like 3. But there's so much with the port. So it's 7, you can go more or less. But some other red flags that I would kind of point out is, and I want to preface this with, we didn't like the guy who was heading it before, but at least he had some experience. The gentleman who they've just put in charge does not have any experience. And so you're putting them in charge of a port that is going to be the largest, possibly the largest port in the entire U.S., inland port. So Chicago, I think, is the one right now, if my memory serves me correctly. Ours would surpass that possibly. And if you look at what they have promoted, it would be the International Economic Global Hub. So Utah is not only, quote unquote, ushering in the 4th Industrial Revolution, lucky us, but we're going to be the crossroads of the world. That's what the World Trade Center just said, podcast about that. And we're going to be the International Economic Global Hub. all this sound really fun? That means ESG scores. I know our treasurer's fighting against that. A bunch of even Cox signed on that he's against ESG scores. But you have the port openly talking about enforcing basically ESG scores without calling them ESG. Mm-hmm. So, those are conflicting ideas, right? Because all of the business will be coming through that port. So if the port is and remember, it's eminent domain. If they won't allow people that don't follow ESG scores, then you know what I mean? How's this working with Utah? How's this happening? So there's a lot of questions that need to be asked about the port and about the money that's been sunk into the port. The port, it's insane. It's nuts. I believe is it 270 billion? I don't even remember. I've got to look at the total number, but it's an insane amount of money that, we're all basically paying for it essentially.
What are the big driving businesses behind this?
Businesses, I'm not entirely sure. They've been trying to get trucking on board big time. If you guys, which you may or may not, but if you go to interim or even the Capitol Committee meetings when they're in session, transportation is where like they dump all the stuff that they want to hide from us that they're doing. And if you look, the port has a very robust plan for forcing electronic vehicles and semi trucks and those kinds of things into the system. So if you are, again, which trucking companies would have to be working with the port, they will be required, as this kind of plan rolls out, to flip their fleet over to electric vehicles.
Couldn't we, as a state, after they build the inland port, vote to nationalize the inland port back into the state?
Stateize it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we can always confiscate stuff if we're the government, right?
Yeah.
If we're disappointed with the way it's run.
We just have to flip the whole electorate?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm down.
I don't think it would be that hard.
It's that time of year. Flip it.
If they go
well,
ESG,
we just got to do a write-in campaign and flip it.
If they did go ESG, they would be able to piss off enough people where we could probably just confiscate that property and bring it back into the state fold.
Maybe. Well, I would like to know more about. Well, I don't like eminent domain clauses for stuff like that. I think, my honest opinion, I mean,
think about eminent domain for eminent domain, where you eminent domain the eminent domain back into the state.
There you go. Say that twice. Anyway.
Well, has the public had any say in this, really?
What
I can tell you they have not.
What due process do we have in this? I mean,
we don't right now. I mean, honestly, I'll try to find the link and send it to you guys after. It's in one of our blogs too, but they basically took away public comment. Because what happened was a bunch of people showed up saying they don't want the inland port, and they shut that meeting down. And then, no, we're not having public comment anymore because we don't agree with you.
That was the Green Party, I believe.
Yeah. Well, it was the environmentalists showed up.
My friends, the watermelons. Green on the outside, red on the in.
There you go. There you go. The funny thing to me on this port issue is that both sides don't want this thing. So why are we doing it?
Well, I think it's time people to recognize that Republicans and Democrats, as the old saying goes, are just the opposite wings on the same bird.
Bingo.
You're the subject. They're the parasite and you're the donor.
Yep.
And they're getting rich. True. They're getting rich by putting in this eminent domain, giving sweet deals to the companies that hire the best lobbyists.
Yep.
The interesting thing is you go back to the late 80s, early 90s, and I remember Congress dragging Microsoft and Bill Gates in there, and Bill Gates now IBM got crushed by the government because they got drug in about 6-7 years before Bill Gates did, because IBM wasn't greasing them enough and crushed. IBM's done. They're a shadow of what they were and not even anywhere near what they could have been. But that gave Microsoft a chance to dominate the market.
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft charged ahead. They drug him in. And now Bill Gates says, I'm buying every congressman, every senator. And he pays all of them. He hasn't been back in front of him since. He goes out and flies on airplanes to go diddle 14-year-olds on a crazy island with a temple on it. No one's asking him questions.
How do you know there's a temple on it?
On Epstein's Island?
Yeah.
You can go watch
there's a building. Yeah, you can look at it.
There's been people that's broken in there and taken video. Luke Radowski broke in.
You better be careful what you say. You might get sued because I don't know how you prove there's a temple on the island. Not by
Epstein. Epstein would have to prove to us that he didn't commit suicide in order to sue me. But yeah, there's been people there. Luke Radowski went there, took video, got chased off by security. So
sounds like a good show.
But it's crazy that it seems like the government's only there to
work for the elites and not for the people.
Yeah, to light the road for those that already have the wealth to pay them off.
I like to think of it like farming.
Dave says he likes to think of it like farming. I'm serious. We need to start holding our elected officials to account, because let's face it, an inland port may not be a bad idea. On the whole of it, an inland port would probably be a good idea to move stuff further inland so that it has quicker dispersion into the nation, where we do have a global economy. And I do think a global economy, although uncomfortable in a lot of instances, is a good thing, because specialization is the key to capitalism. But I don't like when we give monopoly over that. And monopolies only exist with government. Mm-hmm. There is no monopoly that can exist without government.
But without government, we have anarchy.
They love these public-private partnerships. That's literally how they're doing. It's the NGOs and these public-private partnerships. Don't worry, it's not all government. Well, yeah, it is though.
When you say
it's really weird.
When you say public-private partnership, to me it sounds like I don't know, 5 guys playing Dutch rudder with each other.
Well, in a way.
Like they're all guys that are, wiggling the other guy's arm.
Dutch rudder.
That's not. That's accurate in a way.
Yeah.
not literally, but yes.
But we're getting screwed. Either way, we're getting screwed.
Yeah.
The monopoly of force of the government is being purchased by the wealthy to be used against us, and then they're going to come in. All right, so let's get to it. What can we do to protest this? To slow it down, to stop it, or to change it,
or just to bring awareness of these bureaucratic.
Awareness, number one, start talking to people about it. Like I said, share the blog. We will have the video coming soon.
Now I can share stuff. Don't want me to talk about stuff. I'm borderline retarded. I'll ruin the message, but I can share stuff.
Share stuff. Share the blogs. Like I said, there's going to be more coming, but I think just opening that conversation, whether you open it with just sharing stuff or talking to people, but that's the best thing to do in the beginning. The next thing is obviously to contact the legislature and say, hey, you know what? I'm not liking what I'm seeing here. I don't like that it has eminent domain. I don't like that it has a $75 million bank. I don't like that it failed 2 audits recently. I don't like that it's going and doing contracts, no bid contracts. So there's no transparency for the public. I don't like that the public's not allowed to come to meetings sometimes. You know what I mean? They're blocked out from it. I don't think that's appropriate. And so I think the more that people start communicating with the legislature and saying, we expect you to, reel this in. get this back with the people, please. Like the port, again, a port is not a bad thing. There's helpful things about it, but the port has been basically taken over by the bad guys, for lack of a better term, to just do whatever the heck they want. And without answering to the people, they are not accountable to us. They're not even accountable to the state, really. So that's a scary, that's scary. And if you know the history of how port authorities and the World Trade Centers formed together, which was Rockefeller, it's quite something. And it was New York again, so it's just something to look at, because Long Beach, California's port is also connected to China. So, there's just some things to kind of take into consideration. And I don't know if people are aware, but there is a building that's working with the port and Amazon and whatnot, and they're Hong Kong, but they're down in South Jordan, Utah. Hong Kong. So
is there a particular statesman in our government that wants this New World Order relationship to occur with the Port Authority?
Let's make this easier. Is there a particular statesman in our government who is trying to slow this process from becoming the dystopian?
So the good guys.
The good guys.
Good guys who
be easier to label them.
Oh.
So I think there are. I think so. For example, there's a new commission that's federal commission, if I'm remembering it right. I believe it was Ken Ivory who put it together, our legislature, but it's basically to check government overreach, federal overreach. And I would say that commission is a good place to start with contacting and saying, hey, can you guys start, looking at this thing? And they're new, just to give you guys an idea, this is a new deal. But I would contact them. Stratton's on there, I believe. So he's one of our legislators. I don't love everything Stratton does, by the way. There's some bills that horrify me from him, but none of them are perfect. So I would definitely communicate with that commission. So Ken Ivory's a good one to maybe reach out to. Because if he's, and I know some people love him and some people don't. So I'll just preface that right now. He's a land guy. Some people think he's not, and some people think he is, but he publicly states he does not like land grabs. So I would be reaching out to him. And obviously Lyman, Phil Lyman's against land grabs and overreach. So you can reach out to Lyman and some of those guys. But it's rough. Most of them voted for the port.
How many senators do we have in this state and reps? 208 or something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And you mentioned 4. Like I said,
most of them voted for the port in favor of it. It's a little tricky, but we can educate them.
Campaigns are hard, Jen. They're expensive.
Huh?
Campaigns are expensive. And
I know.
You need to. You know what?
No, it's Mike Peterson's another one. You can talk to Mike Peterson. I know he voted against it. He's one of the few reps that voted against it. Mike Peterson.
How many of them do you think voted for it, not knowing what it entails?
I would actually almost say the majority. Because I've talked to some of them privately behind the scenes, and they admitted to me, they voted for it, obviously, and they told me their reasoning and stuff, and now it's changed, so they didn't know all this. And obviously things have happened since they voted in favor for it that they would not have been okay with, right? So as things have progressed, they're like, wait a minute, what's happening? Including one of the guys, I won't put words in his mouth, but I think if you guys had Greg Hughes on to talk about the port, because he was one of the biggest pushers in the port. He still likes the port, but I think he's recognizing there's some problems with it. So, there's even some of them that were heavy hitters for it are kind of like, wait a minute, though, it's getting a little out of control.
So
right?
what you're saying
is a little nuts.
he looked at the punch bowl and saw the red luscious punch, and it looked good. And then he saw the brown viscous with corn husks in it bob up to the top and just kind of bob
Right.
and he's going,
right.
what is that? Okay.
Yeah. And I think he's got some ideas for trying to kind of reel it back in. So you guys could, I would say reach out, talk to him.
You know what? I would say, okay, fine. You want eminent domain, you pay twice market value, end of discussion. Period.
Yeah.
If you're going to force someone off their property, you pay twice market value. But that needs to be done nationally. I mean, just the end of the line. If you want to strip people of their rights, twice the market value.
They got a bill for this next session, you guys. You can have Chelsea on again. She'll tell you about the water one. They got a bill for water emergency, I believe, for 2023 that strips us of our rights over our own water and property and blah, blah, blah. So, no, they keep doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's always emergency, use and all of these other, it's just nuts.
Well, when there's emergencies, it's hard to deal with people's rights. Rights always seem to get in the way of emergencies. And it makes things slow and arduous and complicated. And
wouldn't you know, it's flu season again. We need to take away all this stuff. Oh, wouldn't you know, it's a full moon tomorrow night. We need,
hopefully Constitutional Amendment A in our vote ballot will help alleviate some of that.
Is the one where they want to take away an extra 5% to set aside for their
right now they can
slush fund.
Yeah, they can do 1%, but they can if we vote for Constitutional Amendment A, they can reach in and grab 5%.
They can dig deeper.
Look,
they
are important.
I can tell you straight up, don't bother emailing Brad Wilson, because Brad Wilson is in favor of that.
Where's he at?
Amendment, and he's also very much in favor of the port.
So he's like Dr. Evil.
Where's he at?
Yeah. Davis County.
Okay. Yeah.
Brad.
Hold my shock. Yeah. Oh, I can't believe it. Oh, goodness. All right.
Davis County is a hot mess. I'm sure you guys know. It's a hot mess.
It's where all the lizard people live, huh?
Well, it's a mess. Ray Ward's over there. Ray Ward's one of our worst legislatures. It's just a mess. Davis County's a mess. And that's where the DOJ is involved in the school district down there now, taking over the school district for Davis. So,
when I talked to Natalie Klein, she was talking about that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did that happen? How did we let the Department of Justice, the gaggle of fools who has a success rating of 3%, take over our education system? And I thought, wait a second, the education system has failed every year.
Surprise.
Maybe it's a better option. Maybe we can turn education over to Parks and Rec, or I don't know, Department of Sewage. Something, anything that has a success rating, because the DOJ, they eat a bag of dicks at success. But the worst, okay, I'm not going to say the worst because we can go a lot deeper on that. But one that's close, that's winning that race to failure is the Department of Education.
Yeah, no,
look up in there, I just some more vodka.
I don't think we even should have a federal. I want it done. We should be checking out of that. And Utah should not be participating in the NEA and all that other stuff. It just needs to be done.
I will say this, Jen. You're about to do a video on the inland port and these 7 red flags.
Yeah.
But me as a person and a citizen of the Republic, I think an inland port would benefit Utah. So when you do the video, I would ask this. Okay, I'm sure there are plenty of negatives to the current setup for this inland port, but you should also lay out, hey, how would this work? How could it be set up for the benefit of the people? And what would we have to fight for to make this the right choice for us?
Come up with an action plan.
No, that's actually something we're working on.
So people don't reach out to their senators with, hey, dickweed, stop. Say, hey, add this in.
No, that's for sure. There's solution, right? Having a solution, because it's already underway. And Iron County has an inland port that no one even knows about. That's why one of the reasons Pete Buttigieg came to visit Governor Cox in Utah a few months ago was that port got unleashed.
Who is this Pete Buttigieg you speak of?
I thought he came to visit Cox because he's gay.
He's our
over
federal
what?
Transportation.
Oh,
Department of Transportation.
I was wondering why the trains were trying to stop every 2 weeks over the last year.
Yeah,
okay.
No, I heard he came to visit Cox because he was gay. And that's what I heard. I'm just saying.
Well,
because Cox was?
No, because well, maybe. I don't know.
Because Buttigieg.
That's just the rumor.
How unfortunate is that name if you're homosexual?
I know, right? No, Cox. I
mean,
think
that's like,
he is married. He's married, I think, to a woman.
Buttigieg was married to a woman and then came out.
But Cox.
And then
Cox is married
Cox
to a
is
woman.
married to a woman. Yes, yes.
So you're saying it's not too late?
Who knows?
Anyways, both names are unfortunate.
Yep.
Don't lean into him too hard, gentlemen.
He wasn't going to come on the show anyway, so I figured I'd just let that one
Who,
out.
Buddha stuff?
No, Cox.
Oh, Cox. Have we invited him yet?
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, he's like, I'm sorry, I don't have time for you. You're Tooele.
No, but I agree. We definitely have to have a solution. And, there's the rule. Utah does need to be able to get things in and out, right? So that makes sense. So,
and it does. And it makes sense for like the Midwest, stuff coming from the Pacific Ocean. It makes sense for the Midwest to have. And also, I'm going to throw it out there. I believe that unions have their place, but sometimes I believe not having unions has its place. And to get stuff into market quicker without unions sometimes needs to be an availability for the market.
Well, I would agree, but look at who we contracted with.
I don't know.
Long Beach, California.
Yeah.
Sport.
Well, I think we contracted with them to get around their unions.
It's possible. There's a lot of reasons, I think.
And the railroad almost has a straight shot from there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why, but I don't know. I don't know the particulars of it. I know when we had Milne on to talk about it, I got excited thinking, this is going to bring a lot of business and industry. And it brought it all to Salt Lake County, who, in a moment of clarity, all their buttholes clapped shut. They collapsed at their knees, hit the back of their heads on the ground, says, the pollution. And I said, there's a whole damn county of desert waiting for you to drop some concrete on and unload stuff. But
that's not what they see. This is the scary thing too. And we're working on getting the document up and ready. But they basically want to push everybody, the entire population of Utah, into 4 counties: Utah County, Salt Lake County, Davis County, and Weber.
I would rather.
That's not helping rural Utah.
I would rather eat a dump truck of dicks than to move to any of those 4 counties. I would rather staple baloney to my face and play with wolves.
Yeah.
I would rather skydive through razor blades. I don't even like going into those counties.
No, don't blame me. Salt Lake, I just feel like I'm under surveillance 24/7. I'm like, well, all right, or just everything. Which, by the way, Thatcher, we'd love to know about those facial recognition cameras.
Yeah,
love to know about that.
That's the latest thing. Chelsea called me.
Wait. I'm sorry. I'm totally clueless about this one. Can you fill me in? I mean,
Chelsea's
that's a big comment.
Writing something up. No, he just put in some information on facial recognition stuff.
2021, he passed a bill for facial recognition cameras and tried to say he's trying to keep things a little more, secure.
Well, what's wrong with facial recognition? Let me ask you that.
That's total invasion of privacy. If you're not able to opt out when you're getting your driver's license and stuff, you cannot opt out. That's an invasion of you're not a criminal, right? Why are they? Because it's always used under the guise of
it's
we're
a
doing
simple
facial
Fourth
recognition
Amendment
for
thing.
criminals.
Well, where is the facial recognition happening? On the roads is what you're saying?
Apparently, they
It's
want to
coming
make
everywhere.
it like London
it's
does.
going to be smart cities. Again, we'll be doing a big thing on that. Trust me, surveillance state is coming.
Let me ask you this.
I mean, it's here. But,
all right, because this is a pretty important topic. The roads, they are public property. So
shouldn't be, but go on.
They are public property. It is a reality. I'm not talking about the utopia that is without government. I'm talking about our reality with. The roads are public property. Everything we do should be public on the road.
When was the last time you pulled out your driver's license to show someone?
I thought they could just read my chip implant.
When was the last time you pulled out your driver's license to show it to someone?
Look, I take the Fifth Amendment.
Probably the liquor store. Right?
No,
when was the last time?
Don't get me started there.
Okay, now I would say it. I would phrase it like this. When was the last time you pulled out to show it to a government agent? But that was in Utah. It's still the liquor store. But when was the last time you pulled it out for driving?
I try not to get pulled over.
When was the last time?
I don't know, man. I've got no points on my license at the current moment, so I'm doing pretty good. I can say that.
How many times between now and then for your permit to drive a vehicle on your public roads have you pulled it out to show it to someone? And do you think maybe that's not being or doesn't have the possibility to be tracked and recorded?
Well, first of all, why should I have to pull out my license? They can just see everything from my license plate, can't they?
I'm just saying, your actual driver's license. Your license plate doesn't tell them if it's you, your wife, your neighbor who borrowed your car.
No, but it does associate the car to an ownership.
Sure. But your driver's license, which is part of this recording things you do operation.
On the road.
Or at the
and in the liquor store, which is state owned.
Or at Walmart if you're buying a case of PBR.
What's PBR?
PBR? Pabst Blue Ribbon?
That's gayer than AIDS.
Who brought that dog shit over last week? You brought over the flattest, sourest thing I ever put in my face.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I wasn't talking to you, Buttigieg. Anyways.
Look, it's public property. It's public property.
Sure.
The road and the state are one.
But your driver's license is never used for the operation of that public property. Nowadays, it's used as a tracking device for where you're shopping, what you're buying, what you're doing. Now, of course, right now, it's all kind of, soft stuff. Say, strawberry flavored cotton candy. But it's going to be taint flavored cotton candy eventually.
Well, yeah, you're probably right, because they could probably actually see you at real time every time you go through an area that has a camera that can read your license plate.
That's right. At the liquor store, what do they do when you hand them your license?
God, I always get in trouble at the liquor store.
They ding it on that little device.
Yeah.
So instead of now looking at it and saying, "Oh, okay, yeah, birthday matches up," remember they used to have that poster. If you're born after this date, you can buy, a beer. Now they ding it.
But it's a great liability. It's a good alibi to show that, hey, look, I was at this place at this time, so I'm not going to complain.
Sure. So
they can't.
What you're saying is if you ever go to rob a bank, send someone with your license to the liquor store.
Yeah.
Because that is true. Never once have I had them look at my driver's license and look at my face and then ding it. That was just grab it, ding it, and hand it back.
Good point. But the cameras will catch you either way.
Unless you pull your hat down low.
Either way, facial recognition.
And then you just got to claim the old, I'm nervous of a certain, biological entity that was possibly created in a lab. So I've got to wear this diaper on my head. Huh?
What does that have to do with facial recognition?
they're not going to be able to see my face if I've got it covered.
Actually, believe it or not, they do have algorithms that can help you with that.
Sure. And then I just get one of those set of the big nose glasses, trench coat, boom, I'm done.
Well, don't worry. China's already trying to get around that.
I know they
people, masks and all that. They want to make sure they know who's where. But my bigger problem isn't even just that he did the facial recognition. It's that he's the same rep that wanted cameras removed or not used on our drop boxes in Utah.
Yeah, that's an interesting
So you want
one.
facial recognition, but you don't want them on drop boxes. Please explain.
Are you sure?
Explain to me. Yep.
And Thatcher's our rep. We've had him on this show a couple of times.
He's going to have to answer to that one.
Yeah.
Ask him about it.
We've been trying to reach out, haven't we?
Well, he'll text back.
All right. Well, get him on the show soon. Got to ask him some questions. Maybe he'll just start dodging us now that we're...
I'd actually like him to tell me why one kind is okay and the other's not. If we're doing security.
Yeah, innocent movement around the nation is okay for us to track you, but actual official business is not.
Well, if you don't have cameras on the ballot polls, if there's a margin of error, you can kind of just
fudge it,
sweep it under the table,
lick your finger and wipe the ink. Oh,
we'll be like, we can circle back on that one later. We're in a holding pattern.
I don't know if Chelsea warned you. We get a little spicy after some of the alcohol shows up.
Do you? Yeah.
What did we drink? We drank Moab Distillery.
Moab Distillery, Class 5 vodka. We got some other stuff.
It'll expand your mind.
I like I like buying local liquors if I can, of course. We got Crown Royal. That's local if you're a globalist. It's same hemisphere. But I like to buy Utah stuff if I can. And
I think that's good.
Yeah.
Support local.
Yeah, support local.
And if they have facial recognition on me when I'm buying it, then I can't deny it.
I'm telling you, what's going to happen? I mean, like London
it's
right
China's
now.
China's social credit score. Just look at what they're doing.
And that's
question.
What
they're doing.
Is it China's local credit score? Like, if they're going to do facial recognition and they're like, hey, we saw you went into, American Burger, and American Burger hasn't made a vegetarian burger yet. So by contrast, that means you get a credit score of, I don't know how they weigh it.
You get a ding on your credit score.
Yeah, you lose 20 points. And that's where it feels like we're heading.
Now
it is where we're heading.
Now, Jen, Jared, I have to say this.
Okay.
Because I always have to say this.
Please, go on.
The ESG system affects which currency?
Businesses.
Which currency?
Well, let me ask you this.
Businesses.
It affects the U.S. dollar and other fiat currencies, correct?
You're correct.
Now, let me ask you this, Jen. If you're going to complain about ESG, have you ever looked into using cryptocurrencies to sell products or purchase products?
I have looked into crypto. You don't want to get me going down crypto or blockchain because I feel like there's I think decentralization is good. However, I am very concerned with what I'm seeing with blockchain and some of the ways that that's going. So I don't know. It's a very tricky topic because digital is not going to go away. You know what I mean? Digital's not leaving. We're not all of a sudden going to be back to analog and paper and all this stuff. So how do we make it, I don't know, not dangerous? Not as dangerous as it is.
I say not having governments is the best way to secure your currency. But now let me ask you a question. Could ESG also apply in a crypto situation?
Only if it's a government-controlled fiat type crypto.
Really? But wouldn't you still go to get loans from entities that have an abundance of said currency?
They don't, though.
believe me, if we move to crypto, banks will have most of it.
No, it's already
there's this
cryptocurrency in the form of at least Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin. It's already been distributed amongst the masses and the exchanges.
Sure.
Now, can governments get in there and buy some? Yeah, they can, but they won't be able to buy the majority.
Sure, I'm telling you.
The cat's out of the bag.
Now,
but here's the problem with that, and I'm just going to be really. What happens with the grid?
What happens?
Everything is digital, and it gets shut down with the grid. I'm just like, really, I would rather have we need to be back to, I feel like, physical back, so gold, but I'm more gold standard person. If they need to shut off a country from access digitally, they can. And that's it's a very powerful thing. And we've just got to look down the road at what we're doing.
Well,
and how do we protect ourselves?
What happens if the grid goes down? What happens if it gets censored? I will say this: North Koreans can buy Bibles with Bitcoin in their country. Now, North Korea is about as censored a country as you can get.
I would like show me the example of that happening. First, of North Koreans, having any Bitcoin, except for like their dear leader and the generals and
dear leader's into this now. Dear leader is actually trying to hack exchanges to get Bitcoin because he's like, wow, this stuff's awesome.
Sure. I'm sure the dear leader cares about it because then he can finally buy copper.
But I'm just saying,
the world market, because
everyone's going to complain about how the fiat currency is set up and all these rules and regulations that we got to go around to utilize the fiat currency, and they can turn us off and turn us on with the fiat currency. Look, it's much easier to just switch.
Coming up on, we've got 6 minutes before we got to close this down.
Anywho, that's my gripe.
Where do you go to get your business loan?
Coinbase.com. Gemini.com.
Oh, don't go to Coinbase.
Do they
get it. No. Coinbase, don't do it.
Do they give out business loans?
Did you get kicked off of Coinbase too?
They stole my money, man. They won't let me have my money. I'm not kidding. They won't let me have access to my own account.
Do they give loans there?
I don't know, but I'm sure they would if that's the currency they went through, because they'd be one of the major holders.
Okay.
They would be one of the new banks.
So you would go there?
But yes, Jen is correct. They are a little.
They would give you.
They're kind of like, yeah. I'd rather go to a different exchange if I could.
Okay, any exchange.
Yeah.
So you go to any exchange besides Coinbase.
Actually, I wouldn't have a choice because I got kicked off.
They would give you loans, right? That's where you get your business loan. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to start a T-shirt company or a sock company. Has my face on the sock, obviously. So I'd make it right on the bottom, kind of the instep area, Anyways, so that's where I'd go to get my business loan. Would they then do a fractional reserve type business loan on the idea that they would make money? Or would they have to go with what Rome did in latter years, where they would give out money in one currency but demand payment in another because they had diluted the first currency so much?
Well, one of the purposes of the blockchain is to be able to track and keep things transparent.
Hey, I dig it.
So you can't like shave some Bitcoin off and put it in some Litecoin or Dogecoin and make a
but they could demand payment back in Dogecoin.
Yeah, I suppose.
Or they could demand it back in Lite or Ethereum.
That doesn't change the fact that
or they could give you loans in Ethereum and demand it back in Bitcoin until they dominate the market.
When you say they, I'm referring to private entities, not governments.
Sure.
So, I mean, you could just choose a different private entity.
Sure.
If you're not satisfied. But with ESG, you're stuck in that system.
So you're meaning that all these banks.
I can't believe you're advocating for ESG, Jared.
Am I advocating for it? No, you're just
let's save the dollar.
I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying I'm sure banks, when it comes around, because of the need for people to have loans, they'll dominate the market again. I give them We could flip over, surprise the world tomorrow. And before you're kissing your old lady on New Year's Eve, they would dominate the market again.
It's already coming. The central bank, it's coming because they've got to have that control in order to enforce social credit scores anyway.
Well, it's not just that, but they're the ones that have the means to do it.
Exactly.
Banks continually pop up, always pop up. We killed the Bank of the U.S. in the 1820s, and other banks popped up and just built cartels that work together to maintain control.
I'm not against banks, Jared. I'm not against banks. I'm against the fiat system.
That's where the ESG
if banks want to use a cryptocurrency, that's awesome. Good luck.
I'm just saying that ESG can apply if you're on Doge, if you're on Bitcoin, if you're on Jared Coin, patent pending, if you're on any of that. ESG can hit you there because it hits you at that source of origination.
Only if you go to that bank that utilizes ESG.
Sure. What bank's not going to do that?
A lot of them. They're going to be competing for your Bitcoin.
I'll tell you,
Jared.
Jackson killed the Bank of America, right? Or Bank of the U.S., Bank of the Colonies, whatever they called it. He killed it. And all the banks built a cartel, and the same thing happened.
Well, it would be a definite reorganization. It
happened so much
an opportunity
that in the 1880s we had the silverbacks. We had the people fighting for a silver standard.
Mm-hmm.
Farmers wanted a silver standard. First populist movement in the U.S. Apparently,
how'd that work?
They lost. It didn't pan out, and it was all so that farmers could have a deflationary argument for making money. It was the banks that shut him down in a big cartel after the central bank had been shut down by Jackson.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll give you my advice.
Okay.
Jen, Jared, if you are upset with ESG, consider learning how to make Bitcoin transactions.
Already done it.
And be ready because
already done it, but you'll need that business loan.
No, I won't.
You won't need any loans. Ever.
Not if they switch to Bitcoin.
No. You think your Bitcoin value will just jump that high?
I'm just saying, if they switch to Bitcoin, I won't need a loan. I'll put it that way.
I think it would too. But anyways, we always get off on this argument because Dave likes Bitcoin a lot.
I just like financial freedom.
Everything roots back to that. But anyways, Jen, before we let you go, give the people some points that they can write their senator or representative with and ask them questions or maybe point them in proper directions.
I would say the first thing to ask them is if they think that the inland port as it currently is a good thing or a bad thing, so that you know where they stand on it. And then number two, I would ask them if they're okay with the port having eminent domain, and if they think that is basically within the rights of that Utah Inland Port Authority, and if they are aware that they have taxing authority. And I would also send them the 2 audits that they felt. I'd say, the port is failing their audits. I know that they just put the port on hold because of these audits. I'd like to know how you guys plan on overseeing them and overseeing the money that they're rolling through and the $75 million bank that they've been allotted. Where's the oversight? Who's being accountable for that? I'd ask some of those questions to start with and see what they say.
Is there any particular videos or blogs on your website that you would send people to maybe brush up, maybe have like something they can tangibly grab onto? Because like me, you just said a lot of stuff and I retain about 8% of that. And I've had vodka, so about 4% of that now.
No, that's totally fine. I totally get, there's a few places. So you can, number one, you can go to the blog. on UtahFreedomCoalition.org. The very first blog on there is the Inland Port Revisited 7 Red Flags. And then there's another blog further down. It's on page 3. Then we also have under resources, I believe it is. Yeah, flyers and stickers. We have a flyer that links to a bunch of, UN and also port-related information. If you click on the first one, it shows you, it says this is the PDF. You'll get information on the United Nations, digital driver's license, boats app, the Utah Inland Port, and they each have their own flyer. So the port has its own, but it takes you to a bunch of information on the port.
Okay, so I'm on the website now, and I'm also showing it on there. So,
sure. So if you go to resources.
Yep, I went to resources, Utah Inland Port.
Yep.
United Nations infiltration of Utah, digital takeover.
Yep. If you click on the list below are the flyers we have in the attached PDF. If you click on the PDF, you'll see each one of those topics has its own flyer. And it's got a QR code that people can scan and go right to the information. And then you can go to our blog.
Okay, I'm knee deep in the flyer right now.
You're fine. You're fine.
What about a template letter to mail to your representative?
That'd be good. Could you guys make it?
We can write one up.
Yeah,
we can post one up.
Write up a template letter that we can just print, lick an envelope, put a stamp on it, and shoot it up the mailbox.
Yep, we can definitely put a template on. So yeah,
that'd be
good.
And
I can send it over to you guys.
If I got to write it up, they'll wonder who let the caveman at it.
I would say the biggest question, honestly, to ask them is who authorized them to give eminent domain to this authority.
You know what? You might need to write up a couple of template letters.
Yeah.
I would honestly say I'd write one up that says, for whatever particular reason because that's the one that gets me the most is the eminent domain. I would have that so they can print it out, sign their name to it, and send it to, and then also have the address that they need to mail it to and the name of their rep, because most people in the state of Utah don't know who their rep and or senator is.
Yes, that's very true. We're going to have a list. Actually, you know what? We might hand it off even to We Are the People, because they use voter voice, which I don't know if you guys know who that is, but that's an easy, you can do a call to action and you just click it and it already has your legislature selected for you once you put in your zip code.
Perfect.
It knows, and so you can send it. So maybe we'll send it over there and I'll send you guys the link when they get it up.
Perfect. All right. Yep. We've got to cut you loose, Jen.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
We need to have you on again. A lot of good information. Everyone, go to the UtahFreedomCoalition.org. Look through their stuff. If there's something that's giving you heartburn, or even something that maybe you agree with the inland port, but you have some questions or want some further research. Everything the government does could probably use improvement.
There you go. Yeah, I agree.
Was that gentle enough for everyone?
Hey, Jen, let us know when the video comes out. Too.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
I will. It's going to come out, I think, in a week or two. So I'll let you know as soon as it's up. I'll send it.
Share it to the happy hour if you can too.
Yeah,
just
I will.
Post it right on there. All right, everyone.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Jen Dredge with the UtahFreedomCoalition.org. Check it out. And we'll be back on in about 20 minutes.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Jen.